Okay, let's unpack this. You've probably seen it cross-stitched on a decorative pillow or plastered on a bumper sticker somewhere.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Or maybe you've been at a funeral and heard someone use it in a eulogy to describe like a really nice, unassuming person who volunteers on weekends. We hear someone called the salt of the earth, and we instantly think of this harmless, sweet person.
Right. Someone who just doesn't cause any trouble.
Exactly. And then when someone says be a light in the dark, we picture, a friendly guide with a flashlight. But today's deep dive into a really fascinating exegetical essay by Frank Leo, who is also noted in the preamble as Moshe Levi, well, it proves we have completely neutered a 2,000-year-old cosmic calling.
We really have?
The essay is titled Sal ed Lasju, which just translates to salt and light. And our mission today is to completely dismantle and reconstruct what these metaphors were actually intended to mean.
It is so easy to become numb to language we hear all the time,
Oh.
But it's important to state right up front the stakes of this deep dive.
Yeah, lay it out for us.
Well, the essay argues that we aren't just playing some linguistic trivia game here. If we misunderstand these two simple words, salt and light, we end up with a profound misunderstanding of human purpose.
That is a massive paradigm shift.
It is. We have to move from seeing ourselves as this superficial flavoring to understanding a much heavier ancient calling of cosmic preservation.
I mean, when I hear salt of the earth, 9 times out of 10, it's culinary. It's about making things tasty, like a dash of seasoning to make a bland soup a little better.
Right, you sprinkle a little on top, and the world is just a bit more palatable.
Exactly.
Which is completely wrong.
Completely.
Totally wrong. That culinary interpretation is just a modern projection onto an ancient text. The author points out that if we look at the biblical context, specifically the Old Testament roots, that the original ancient audience would have instantly recognized salt was not primarily about making your dinner taste better.
Okay, so what was it about?
It was fundamentally linked to a concept called the Berith Milak.
The Berith Milak. That sounds, it sounds almost like a legal term.
It essentially is. It translates directly to the Salt Covenant. In the ancient Near East, covenants were these binding foundational agreements. And a salt covenant was a covenant of purification, of preservation, and crucially, of the correction of what is wrong.
So nothing to do with making a meal more palatable.
Absolutely not. The essay highlights the Targum Onkelos, which is an ancient Aramaic translation of these texts. And when that translation tackles the word covenant, it uses the Aramaic word chem.
Okay, and what exactly does kiem mean?
It means stability.
Yeah.
Confirmation, permanence. So we are talking about a quick dash of seasoning at a dinner party. We're talking about establishing an inviolable eternal reality.
Wow.
Yeah, and the author mentions Numbers chapter 18 and again in 2 Chronicles chapter 13, where the text describes these eternal salt covenants. In Chronicles, it specifically talks about the eternal kingdom of David being established by a covenant of salt.
Yeah.
So in that ancient context, salt doesn't symbolize flavor at all. It symbolizes incorruptibility. It's the ultimate agent against decay.
So if I'm trying to wrap my head around this, instead of seeing ourselves as a dash of seasoning to make a bland soup taste a little better, we should think of salt more like salt curing meat in the ancient world, like to stop it from rotting before refrigeration was invented.
What's fascinating here is that is the exact mechanism you need to picture. Without refrigeration, meat naturally and inevitably corrupts.
Right, it decays and gets gross.
It rots, and it becomes toxic to consume. Salt was the primary mechanism to arrest that corruption. And preventing that corruption, establishing a permanent, stable order, is the true ancient meaning of the salt of the earth.
Okay, wait, so what does this all mean? Because if our role is to be this kind of salt, it sounds much more confrontational and gritty than just being nice. Like it means actively intervening to fix what is broken.
Yes, exactly. It's about the WHY. The disciple is commissioned to act as an agent of divine purification. They correct the wrong and preserve the just.
But doesn't that just give people a license to be abrasive jerks? Going around yelling at everyone and saying, hey, I'm just being the salt of the earth.
That is a very common trap. And it's why we have to look at how this abstract idea of a covenant actually played out in ancient practice. The source essay moves from this high-level concept into some gritty, real-world examples.
Okay, lay some on me.
Take the story of the prophet Elisha in 2 Kings chapter 2. Elisha encounters a city where the water source is entirely corrupt.
Oh, right. The water's literally causing death and barrenness in the land.
Precisely. And Elisha doesn't use salt to make the water tasty. He asks for a new bowl, puts salt in it, and throws it directly into the deadly water source to purify and heal it.
So the water is actively killing people, and the salt is the active intervention he uses to correct that deadly flaw.
Exactly. It's not meant to irritate, it's meant to cure. And then the essay brings up a fascinating and honestly very bizarre historical practice from Ezekiel 16.4,
What's that?
the ancient practice of rubbing newborns with salt.
Wait, rubbing a newborn baby with salt?
Yeah.
That sounds incredibly painful. Honestly, to modern ears, that sounds like child abuse.
It sounds shocking to us because we are stuck in that culinary mindset. You weren't seasoning a baby. In the ancient Near East, before modern antiseptics, this wasn't for flavor. It was to purify, protect, and sanctify them right after birth.
But how did that actually help the baby from a medical standpoint?
Well, salt acts as an astringent and a mild antiseptic. So rubbing salt on the infant drew out the moisture and stopped deadly bacterial infections like tetanus from taking hold.
Wow, okay, so it was a physical shield against infection that took on a spiritual meaning.
Exactly. And this theme of purification carries right over into the New Testament. The essay points to Mark 9.49, which has this incredibly cryptic phrase, everyone will be salted with fire.
Salted with fire. If you're just thinking about a kitchen table, fire and salt have absolutely nothing in common.
Right. But fire and salt are both refining agents. They both eliminate impurities. A refiner's fire melts down gold to separate the dross, and salt cures meat by drawing out moisture where bacteria breeds.
Okay, so they're both agents of profound correction.
Yes. The essay highlights Colossians 4.6, too, where it says, let your speech be seasoned with salt. We usually take that to mean speak pleasantly.
Like, just use polite words.
But Leo points out that if you look at the Syriac translation of this text, the Peshitta, it uses the root word MLH. And in that language, that single root perfectly means both salt and to purify.
Oh, wow. It has a dual meaning built right into the word itself.
Exactly. So speech seasoned with salt means words of grace that actively correct and temper a situation, not just agreeable words.
Okay, so the first half of the metaphor salt has been totally stripped of its cozy vibe. We're agents of incorruptibility. But what about the second half? Because if we've totally misunderstood salt, I'm guessing we've also misunderstood light as just a handy tool.
You would be guessing correctly.
The essay pivots to the light of the world, and I have to admit, I always pictured a flashlight. You know, a directional beam you carry around to point someone toward a specific path.
Which is exactly the common misconception. The essay argues that light of the world is absolutely not a flashlight. The historical concept here is actually a pharos.
A pharos. What's that?
It's a lighthouse. Or like a massive cosmic beacon.
Yeah.
It radiates omnidirectionally and is visible to everyone in the dark.
So the traditional view is like an usher in a dark movie theater using a flashlight to guide you to your seat.
Right.
But this text says it's actually like a massive lighthouse on a rocky coast. It stays completely put, and ships use its mere existence to navigate out of the dark.
This raises an important question about the fundamental difference between doing an action and being a presence.
How so?
Well, look at Matthew 5.1 and 15. The text says, a city on a hill cannot be hidden. It doesn't actively point light at specific people. It simply exists and shines.
Oh, I see.
And it mentions a lamp put on a licnion, which is a menorah or a fixed lampstand. You don't carry it around. It is a fixed light source that naturally illuminates the whole house. The text says you are the light. It doesn't say you carry the light.
Whoa. You are the light, not you carry it. That completely changes the vibe from frantically running around like that theater usher to just standing firm.
The author argues this is an ontological shift.
Okay, hold on. Ontological is a very heavy academic word. You just mean it changes your actual nature, right? Like who you are at your core.
That's exactly it. It's a transformation of nature, not picking up a tool. And if we look to the prophetic roots, we see how this beacon functions. Leo points straight to Isaiah chapter 60, verses 1 through 3.
Set the scene for us there.
This is the most magnificent proof of the beacon interpretation. The text describes a thick, total darkness covering the entire earth. And in the midst of that, the light doesn't travel to the nations. Rather, the nations march toward the light.
Because it's stationary.
Yes. It's stationary, and people are drawn to it. And Jesus explicitly transfers this exact ontological title to his followers in John 8.12 and Matthew 5.12.
He calls himself the light of the world and then says, you are the light of the world.
Exactly. The disciples become what the master is. Paul reinforces this in Ephesians 5.8. He says, believers were darkness and now are light.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The essay brings up Philippians 2.15, where Paul tells believers to shine like lights in the world. But the specific Greek word used there is phustors.
Yes, fistors.
And if you look at the Septuagint, that exact same word is used in Genesis for the celestial bodies, like the sun, the moon, and the stars. Being compared to the sun or the stars is just mind-blowing.
It really is a staggering comparison.
It removes all that exhausting pressure of running around trying to fix everyone's path with our little flashlights and replaces it with this profound calling to simply be a radiant, immovable presence.
Beautifully said. If we synthesize this, the world is immersed in darkness. The calling isn't to be a mobile guide, but a celestial beacon born of light, children of light, that inevitably attracts those seeking a way out of the dark.
Wow. Okay, so if you are listening to this right now, we have just completely flipped the script on you.
We really have.
We started out seeing ourselves as table salt and theater ushers with flashlights. But diving into this ancient text reveals we are called to be eternal preservers against corruption, rooted in the salt covenant, and immovable celestial lighthouses, drawing people out of darkness.
And that leads to a solemn, lingering thought, drawn directly from the conclusion of the source.
What's the warning?
If salt loses its ability to purify, it is thrown out and trampled. And if a lamp is hidden under a basket, a modius, it is entirely useless.
So it completely fails its divine function.
Yes. So the thought to ponder is this. In our modern era of information overload and constant frantic activity, are we so busy running around trying to spice things up and shine a spotlight on every little issue that we are accidentally putting a basket over our own heads?
Oh, wow.
Are we forgetting how to simply stand firm and be the lighthouse?
That is a profound question to leave on. Seriously, something for you to chew on this week. Keep shining, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.